This video is how I set up my two semi-aquaponic ponds that I keep koi and goldfish in. I have two tanks, two stock tanks. One is 180 gallons, the outside one that I set up last year, and one is inside the hoop house that is smaller and that I'm just keeping a few goldfish in over the summer. I set them up basically the same way, and so I've compiled some videos that I took last year on the additives that I put in the water to keep the fish from being shocked when I switch them out, and also how I use lava rock and drip pans, and very inexpensive things to set up this system. So I hope you enjoy this video. Welcome to the romantic garden. It's that time of year. I've got to set up the outside fish tank. I use stock tanks. This is a 180 gallon stock tank, and it was full of snow and ice all winter long. Now it's kind of like just a place to put plants out of the hot sun. So yep, gotta start. Hey Ginger, you gonna help Mama? You wanna help Mama? Nah, not really, right? You just wanna play. This is basically an experiment for my aquaponics pond with baby koi and goldfish in it. I'm using knee-high stockings, and this one is filled with activated filter carbon. Yesterday I already put one in the filter. It's very dusty. I didn't rust it, rinse it. I'm not really worried about it because my filter is very high powered, and it uses a high volume of water exchange through my filter system. I'll show it in a minute. So anyway, it can handle this dust very easily, goes right into the filter. So the activated filter carbon, I have two of these, and I'm going to do the same thing with the Sarah Super Pete. It's really interesting looking. Let's see. It comes from Germany. I can't do this with one hand. Let's see. There we go. Magic. Okay, anyway, it's this little pelleted peat, and the directions and everything on the box is pretty much all in German, of which I can't speak German, but the English directions, somewhere in there where I can't see without good glasses, I read the directions, and I'm going to do this a little bit unorthodox. So I'm going to put the Super Pete in the stocking bags, just like I did the activated carbon, and I'll put it into my filter system, and I'll show you how that's going to work. According to the box, this should lower the pH. It's good for fresh water, for all blackwater systems. It shouldn't lower the pH in my tank very drastically, because I would have to use this whole box, and I'm not going to, because I don't want black water. I want to be able to see my fish. I just want to lower the pH a little bit. It might darken the water, but if it does, the activated carbon might clear it. The most important thing to me is, will it lower the pH? So I'll do a test, and then I'll check in 3 or 4 days. According to the box, it takes 3 or 4 days to notice a difference. You don't want a big difference because you don't want to shock your fish. I certainly don't want to shock my fish. Talks about shocking the fish, but I don't want to do that. That would be awful. So anyway, I'll show you how this is all going to set up in a little bit. Down in this little pot with the siphon in the bioactive filter, I have one roll of activated carbon down in the bottom of the pot. And so it's been in there working for about a week. So now I have the Sarah Super Peat to put on top of the activated carbon. So I'm just going to stuff it down in there. I might have to restart the siphon, so I'll just kind of stuff it in there. And let's see, I'm doing this with one hand, we'll see if it works. So let's see, yeah, siphon is still going. So I have a large decorative rock, and I'll put that on top. All it really does is hold the pot in place so it doesn't shift around when little wild birds want to sit on it. And we'll see how that does. So this filter, this is the waterfall filter, and so the siphons come out of it. Let's see, so you feed the fish poop, the pump in the back there brings the water up into this Terra filter. It comes down here, swirls around, heavy solids stay there. Water comes up through a filter pad which keeps the solids in place, and then the water continues to flow up through the biofilter, which has the media that is seeded with a bioactive stone. And then I have the two extra biofilter pans on either side. It's a very inexpensive setup. So I have cuttings right here that are doing real well, bog plants. Over here I just put a little potted arum type of plant. I'll put other plants as I get them. And so when the cold weather starts and it gets cold enough that the fish have to go into hibernation, I don't really want that this year. So I'm going to put this whole setup into my hoop house and keep it above freezing all winter long. I'm really excited about that. I'm looking forward to having a nice, decent, warm place to go to and see my fish and play in the hoop house during the cold winter months. So you may ask me, well, what does the fish tanks and the biofilters have to do with a gardening channel? And the reason is I use the water that comes from these biofiltered tanks to water my orchids exclusively. If I don't have rainwater on hand, which is seldom, I mean, it's the Pacific Northwest. It's usually raining at least a couple times a month. But anyway, I can't always count on rainwater, and the orchids, they do not thrive with my tap water. My tap water is off the charts for pH, as far as additives, chlorine, and who knows what else is in it. So yeah, I use fish tank water. It's neutral pH. It's got the added benefit of fish manure in it. Even though it's filtered, there's good things in that water that the orchids really appreciate. I water my orchids, the hanging orchids anyway, the Vandas, by dipping them into the water for about 10 to 15 minutes. This is a Moats Vanda orchid from Thailand or Vietnam, and it's blooming for me. I've had it for almost a year, and this is its first bloom. So it's a species Vanda, and as far as I'm concerned, that fish water, that biofiltered fish water, is making this Vanda really happy. This is another Moats Vanda species from Thailand or Vietnam, and it's also blooming for the first time. It's got two little flower clusters on there. Really cute. I can't really pronounce the names of these. If anybody asked me, I would spell it out for them. But yeah, I've had two blooming this spring. This little Vanda that I thought was going to die has surprised me by putting out new growth right there, if you can see it. First little new leaf is coming out. which makes me really happy. This one is called Mary Mose. I don't know, 1971 it's been around. So it's putting out new growth. So I have it surrounded by Tillandsia, the Spanish moss, and yeah, it's not dead, it's alive. This little species Vanda was blooming when I got it. It hasn't bloomed yet, but it's got new growth coming out of the top. This one is a species from Vietnam. I have the koi and the goldfish out in the refurbished, recleaned tank. They all made it 72 hours. So the water isn't clear yet, but it's getting there. It will take a few weeks for the biofilter to clean up the algae, but the fish don't seem to mind. So let's see, even though it's pouring rain, let's see if these guys are hungry. This is the dinner call. And here we go. Anybody hungry? Yeah. Everybody seems fine. So, this video, I hope you enjoyed it. This is how I make my biofilters for my semi-aquaponic system. This is how I make water for my orchids and my tropicals. And it's just pretty. It's pretty. And I like the sound of running water when I'm working in the garden. So thank you for watching. If you liked my video, please give a thumbs up. And if you want to see more and updates, subscribe. And we'll see you again next time. Cheers, everyone.
Mm-hmm.